Unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. You have to understand, and I'm sure most of you do by now, the scribes and the Pharisees were the super religious groups of the day. They were the extra pious folk. But they took the 10 Commandments and made them into 613. All kinds of little regulations and rules and things you could do on the Sabbath and things you could eat and dietary laws and all kinds of things. It became impossible for the ordinary person to even know them, let alone do them. And then, of course, they could stand back and say, well, all you lousy sinners out there who aren't keeping the law, and feel very self-righteous. And Jesus said, that ain't going to do it. Keeping your 613 little minutiae are not going to be a way of entering into the kingdom of heaven. It's not the externals of anything that bring one into God's kingdom. It's the heart of the matter, what we would say values. And so Jesus goes on in the Sermon on the Mount to teach not the law. Here's what the law says, and it's right, it's good. We're not abolishing it, we're not throwing it out. But the essence of it is inside. It's in the heart. It's in the values that a person holds on to. In our country presently, we're struggling with that issue, law and values. Does one encounter the other? Does the other? Law can never fully embrace the value, but hopefully it's moving in that direction. But there are conflicts, always. The word of the prophet is, God gives you the choice. Life, death. Grace, sin. And everything you do moves in one direction or another. Everything we do leads us more into the life with God, just further away from the life in God. It all depends on our choices. Now, sometimes the Lord is very much aware of our weakness, and the Lord is above all things merciful for those of us who are weak, which is all of us. But it still comes down to a matter of what do we choose? And the criteria, if you look at these things in a deeper way, the criteria is always what moves in the direction of life, not just for me, but for others. What moves in the direction of real fullness of life for other people? That's God's value for us. That's how the law and the commandments is incarnated for us. That's what it means in practical, real, day-to-day terms for us. Do we respect our brothers and sisters, or do we look down on them? Do we honor them, or do we dismiss them? Are we indifferent to them, or do we care? That's the criteria. That's the choice. Whatever we do is to give life to us, but it is above all through giving life to others that we enter deeply into the kingdom of God. And to the extent that we work against that, to the extent that we act against that, to the extent that we choose against that, we are moving in the direction of sinfulness, away from God's grace, away from the choice of life. So it's not just one big choice, life, death. It's every daily choice, life, death. Direction of life, direction of death, direction of grace, direction of sin. We have been given the gift of the Spirit to help us know one from the other, to enlighten our hearts, our minds, and to strengthen us that we may be able to choose always life, grace, God, rather than selfishness, death, sin. May the Spirit endow us all this day.